Zombie media kind of exploded in the early 2010s, and a lot of people are more familiar with movies like Zombieland and TV shows like The Walking Dead, which basically caused a cultural phenomenon that made people hate zombies for a bit. I think the movie version of World War Z also might have caused it to die off, only for it to resurrect. Got it? Because it can't die because they're zombies, and zombies resurrect. But if you want to see some terrible zombie media, well, we'll be discussing that today because one movie had three different remakes. All three of these remakes were terrible. Actually, well, two of them were really terrible. The first one was okay, and then it's a way kind of a trilogy of awfulness. It gets progressively worse. But we should probably start back at the beginning. Day of the Dead is the third film in Romero's Dead trilogy. It takes place after most of humanity is wiped out by the undead, and it primarily is filmed in a bunker located in the Everglades, where the last of the US military and a few scientists are held out, and unfortunately their numbers are shrinking. And it's a matter of time before they're all zombie food. Yum. The movie had a great opening showing our main character, Dr. Sarah Bowman, is having a nightmare and some zombies' arms pop out of the wall and give us the best reaction to 80s horror movie we could possibly ask for. It's a pretty good movie. It can be a bit campy. The main villain, Captain Rhodes, is hilariously evil and macho. There's a mad scientist named Dr. Logan who's trying to teach zombies how to coexist with humans. And then there's Bub, a smart zombie who looks awesome and learns how to use a gun, and then he shoots Captain Rhodes, who then gets split in half. Just like my Subway sandwiches. It was a great movie. Short, has good special effects, and if you haven't seen it and you're a fan of The Walking Dead, I highly recommend you watch this and Dawn of the Dead back to back. Day of the Dead has somehow gotten three different remakes, one in 2008, another in 2019, and one as recently as 2021. The last one was a TV series on Sci-Fi. Remember Sci-Fi? I sure don't. And all of them got really bad. Like, bad. Well, except for the first one. I'll get into that in a little bit. Should probably start off with that first one that's not totally terrible. The 2008 movie simply titled Day of the Dead. I got the pizza ready. Let's watch some movies. Here you go. Here's your slice. Take it. I said take it! Alright, enough of the Plinkett voice. Plunkett. My own character. Fuck you. You couldn't afford Plinkett and you got Plunkett. I'm sorry, okay, look, I can't use you for the entire video. I gotta do this myself. I just wanted you for the intro. You better fucking pay me. I will. I'm gonna look at my Venmo. I'm gonna look at it. I don't fucking see it. I'm coming back with a knife. Okay, put the knife down. Put the knife down, okay? Okay? Okay. I'll be back. Yeah, you better be. Just don't bring the knife. Okay. So yes, Day of the Dead 2008. I actually have fond memories of this movie. I watched it a long time ago, probably in like 2013. I was doing a marathon of just zombie movies. I started off with Dawn of the Dead 78, then moved on to Day of the Dead 85, and then I found out there was a remake of Dawn of the Dead, so I watched that. Well, actually, I knew about that remake. I was too afraid to watch it when I was younger. But what I did find out after watching the Dawn of the Dead remake was there was a Day of the Dead remake. And I figured maybe this has some sort of connection to that, and it didn't, but it was still pretty cool. Day of the Dead 2008, is very different from the source material, but it still uses some of the character names. There's still a Rhodes, there's still a Bowman, and Salazar, who, I don't remember him in the original, but looking at the cast list, he was there. And it definitely does its own thing, but it's not terrible. Although, it's funny, it's called Day of the Dead, but most of it takes place at night. Bit weird to call it Day of the Dead. Probably should have been Night of the Living Dead, but I digress. It's not important. What is important is that it's a Day of the Dead remake, and I'm going to be covering all of those. So here we go. The movie starts off in true early 2000s fashion, with the teenagers being somewhere they're not supposed to be. We meet our first two main characters, Trevor and Nina. Trevor being the brother to another character who will be introduced in a little bit. They're making out in this dingy facility, and Nina's like, hey, let's go explore a little bit, and Trevor loses her, and we cut to the military blockade, where we meet Captain Rhodes, played by Ving Rhames, who is also in Dawn of the Dead 2004.
Fuck y'all.
He is telling a couple that they can't leave the town because they've been ordered to block a road off for 24 hours.
Not unless you have kids you don't fucking understand.
Honey, you're not helping.
And that their dying son is gonna have to die in town. We then meet Sarah Bowman, who explains to them that they can go to the hospital in town and it's the best thing to do. And Sarah then questions Rhodes on why they're leaving these people in town, if this is an actual quarantine exercise, and Rhodes tells her to just do her fucking job. I thought it would be.
Tell them the truth.
So I was only planning on covering like 3
Keep
things.
Shithole town, excuse me, your shithole town sealed off. Now do it.
Yes, sir.
And Rhodes in this one, he's played more sensible. He's definitely still a hard ass, but he's not an insane maniac. He's just doing what he's been told. It's not like in 1985 when the character Rhodes was basically the last remnants of the US Army and was losing his mind. So it's a pretty good change. He's still Rhodes, but he's a different take on the character. We then cut back to Trevor and Nina's adventures in the dingy, scary, creepy warehouse that is definitely not evil. And Trevor can't find Nina, and he nearly opens a door, and Nina comes out and jump scares him like a FNAF character. And he's like, oh, you didn't scare me, and, he totally was scared. They talk about going and exploring more, but then Nina's like, hey, your mom's sick, we could just make out on your couch and she wouldn't even know. And Trevor's like, yeah, let's get the fuck out of here, let's get out of this dingy ass place. And then we start to see that some of his friends are exhibiting symptoms of some sickness, mostly nosebleeds, which is a bit weird. He asks his friends if he's okay, and he's like, don't be a pussy, and that you're not my mom. And yeah, we leave it at that. We then cut to our radio DJ Paul, who is unfortunately not in this movie enough. He is giving off orders that he's been given by the military, and he threatens his guard with Celine Dion.
You are gonna talk to me, so help me God. Oh, Celine Dion. You'd probably like her.
But yeah, this wasn't really anything important. I just wanted to cover it because Paul is actually a really good character. And it is a shame he's not in this movie, till the end. We then see Trevor's friend try to get lucky and offer a nice lady money. And, she of course didn't take that well.
I'll give you money.
What? Well, I'm walking home.
And walks off on her own. And, this being a horror movie, that ends horribly. We cut back to the roadblock where Sarah Bowman is about to go off and check on her mother and her brother. She takes Bub with her, and oh yeah, Salazar makes an appearance, and he's a cool character. He'll show up more later. Sarah comes into her house to find her brother and Nina sucking face, watching what looks like a very poorly green screen TV, and asks why he hasn't been taking care of his mother, who is deathly ill, and he uses the "you've been in the military, not at home" card on her, and of course that end in an argument. Sarah goes and checks on her mom to find that she's very sick and needs to go to the hospital. Sarah goes down and tells Trevor the news, and Trevor and Nina reveal that their friends were also feeling pretty ill, and Sarah decides to go check on Trevor's friend Kyle, the one with the porcupine haircut who was trying to get lucky. They go to Kyle's house and find that it's been ransacked and there's blood everywhere. They then find Kyle's parents, who are missing their faces, and that does not bode well. Clearly, something bad is happening. Sarah contacts Rhodes about this, but Rhodes informs her that it's just a lot of wild rumors, and not to worry about it. Sarah goes and picks up her brother, Nina, and her mother, and then they head to the hospital, where they find tons of sick people. Things are, once again, not looking very good, but don't worry about it. Rhodes said it's fine. I think we also hear a world record for most stock cough sound effects used in a hospital scene. Because, yeah, there's a lot of stock coughing sound effects.
I can't wait. Listen, lady, half the town's sick. We're overwhelmed and understaffed. Just write her. Hey, you think this is still just an exercise?
Sarah is pulled aside by Captain Rhodes, who says a doctor wants to speak with her, this doctor being Dr. Logan, and the doctor starts to ask questions like, did these bodies look like they had bite marks on them? Did they look like they were mauled by animals? And Sarah is like, well, how am I supposed to know? Although, things start to answer themselves rather quickly. In the very next scene, Nina's dad transforms into a zombie. This is actually a really cool transformation sequence. Yeah, they use a lot of like stock molecules and viruses attacking themselves effects. But then we cut to the zombie eye and the face, and we see that the flesh is kind of like burnt off. And then he goes and attacks Nina's mother and rips half her face off. It's actually a really good opening scene to the zombies, I think. And it's pretty good. I can't lie. I mean, when Nina's mother gets her face ripped off, it's a pretty good effect. And it's got to be practical. It does not look like it was CGI. All the other plague victims start to become catatonic and not responsive, and then soon things get out of hand. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet. We get a little montage of zombies around the town, some of them getting sent off of things and crashing their cars. It's a little funny. Definitely matches the tone this movie's going for, which is not very serious. I mean, as much as it tries to take itself seriously, it can't. It's a very B-movie-esque schlock fest, but it's good. I can't say this enough. It's actually pretty good. Moving on. Back at the radio station, Paul is getting ready to leave for the night, but then he sees two zombies dragging a corpse into an alleyway. This causes the military guy that was with him to go in there and check it out, only for him to get devoured, and Paul left alone. Thankfully, Paul was able to get off his fat ass and run back into the radio station rather quickly. Honestly, fastest fat guy in the movie. We also get to see cops back at Kyle's place, where Kyle eats them. Yeah, shit's hitting the fan pretty fast. When we get back to the hospital, like I said, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. Zombies devouring people everywhere. The power's out because two zombies knock somebody into power transformer. It's, yeah. Things get chaotic fast. And that's to this movie's credit. They do not waste time. Speaking of not wasting time, Ving Rhames' time is up. I guess I couldn't afford him for too long, as he was quickly devoured. Bub, Sarah, and Logan eventually found themselves locked in a storage room, which Logan almost, kept them locked out of because he's an asshole. Yeah, this character sucks. Like, not in the poorly written way, just that he's a complete asshole, and I really want to see something bad happen to him way. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Trevor and Nina escape the hospital, so they don't see most of this carnage. They instead make their way to the radio station, where Paul generously lets them in. We also see the couple from earlier, and we find out their son did not make it. He died. Sarah, Bub, and Dr. Logan find themselves trapped in a storage closet full of medical supplies. They need to get out of there, and Bub unfortunately dropped the keys while trying to make it to that room. So they have to go get another set of keys off of the corpse of Captain Rhodes. So Sarah and Bub make their way into the vents and go and find Rhodes. They are then reunited with Salazar, who up until this point hasn't really done anything notable in the film. But it is a short movie, so I guess he's about to do a lot of notable stuff now. They find the keys on Rhodes, and then he soon resurrects and eats his own eyeball. This is actually a pretty grotesque scene. I like it. Sarah, Bub, and Salazar... I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Either way, all three of them get out of the vent, but Bub is unfortunately bitten by the zombified Rhodes as he's closing the vent shut. Sarah is quick to disinfect the wound with bleach, but Salazar is sure that won't work. We cut back to the radio station where Trevor is trying to broadcast out to people and see if he can find help. Meanwhile, Paul and the parents are exhibiting some symptoms, which leads them to believe that there might be a zombie among them. Oh yeah, and Trevor's mom hears his broadcast and heads towards the radio station. They start to show that whole zombies are smart thing even more. And these zombies are really smart for the most part. Back at the hospital, a group of soldiers and that asshole doctor make their way out to the parking lot where they start to fight the zombies. It's a pretty cool sequence. Salazar has his spear that he made, and he cuts some zombies' heads off. They shoot some pistols that sound like they have silencers on them.
We gotta shoot him in the head!
But they don't. And Dr. Logan proves how much of an asshole he is by pushing a woman into a zombie so he can get away in his own car. How great. But fortunately, our main cast make it out of the parking lot and make their way towards the radio station because Sarah hears Trevor's radio broadcast. Meanwhile, back at the radio station, they're playing some Among Us and find out that Paul is turning into a zombie. They quickly dispose of him by stabbing a letter opener into his head, and yeah, rest in peace, Paul. Sarah and Salazar go into a gun store and arm up with some weapons before heading to the radio station, but when they get back into the Jeep, they find the zombified Bub, who won't eat them because I forgot to mention this, he's a vegetarian. Yeah, that's their reasoning. He does not eat human flesh because he's a vegetarian. And there's a real missed opportunity here to have him go into a field of flowers and just start devouring them. Or something like that. Maybe he starts eating grass. I mean, maybe the movie wouldn't get that ridiculous. Back at the radio station, Trevor and Nina are about to get mauled by Trevor's dead mom, but thankfully Sarah runs into her and she explodes and her head rolls off of the Jeep. It's a really funny sequence. I don't know why. It should be horrible because Trevor just watched his mom get run over and explode, but the head bouncing is funny. Sarah tells Nina to go get the remaining survivors in the radio station, but she goes up there and sees that the mother has turned and eaten the husband, and she screams. Sarah, instead of helping, says, "I'm so sorry."
Oh, yeah!
She says, "I'm sorry," like almost immediately. And that leaves Trevor having to go up there and save Nina himself. Yeah, this part of the movie actually pissed me off a little bit. You're the one with guns and military training, and you let your brother just run up there? Your last remaining family member? It's a nitpicky part for me, honestly. But anyways, Trevor's successful. He saves Nina. Well, they both save each other. They push the zombified mother out, and she hits the ground. And then they get out of there. Our group of survivors heads back to the military checkpoint, which is full of zombie soldiers. Who could have guessed? And these ones can use guns, and they are shooting back. This leads to a shootout at the checkpoint. I fucking love that.
My son did that.
And the group leaving and finding another way out of the city. We get a bit of a short heart-to-heart with Trevor and Sarah, who start to argue, but then Trevor's friend Kyle shows up again with his porcupine haircut and a more rotted face, and he tries to kill them, although they crash the Humvee and kill Kyle. This means they have to continue on foot, but, you know, they go to the spooky facility that Trevor and Nina were at the beginning. So yeah, there was some foreshadowing there. They reach the facility and barricade the doors, but then Bub starts to scream. They realize he's an early warning system for zombies pretty fast, because they start busting through the windows and everything. This leads them to get separated from Bub and head further into the facility where they find a hidden lab that gives off Resident Evil vibes. This is where the movie kind of turns into a Resident Evil movie. I'm not lying, this kind of feels like a better Resident Evil movie than all the other ones. There they find Dr. Logan shredding documents and trying to keep the truth from getting out there. But it's far too late because they find a video of exactly what happened. They find out this was a biolab making a virus to help the US military paralyze enemy troops. And it mutated, causing them to die and resurrect. Who could have known that this would happen? They then find the zombified doctor from the video, who is some sort of super zombie because he just dodges bullets left and right like he's from the Matrix.
How is he dodging every shot? This guy's Michael Jackson. He's like fucking moonwalking.
Everybody misses, and the zombie gets into a vent. Oh yeah, I should probably explain this. This facility used to be a Nike site. It was used to house missiles during the Cold War. Salazar gives a bit of a expose on that.
This is a Nike site, right?
Yeah.
Well, they might making sneakers up in here. Nike sites were built during the Cold War to house missiles.
What?
What, you were smoking weed during history class? Anyways, there were missiles and there had to be missile silos. We'll find one of those and we'll have our escape room.
I feel like I should bring that up, as I don't want to just call it the spooky facility. I should tell you what it actually is. This is important because they're going to escape through one of the missile silos. Although Dr. Logan is quickly taken up by that other zombie and dropped down. Yeah, he didn't last very long once they found him. And thank God, because I did not want him to survive. And he died in the funniest way. The gang decides to split up and look for clues. And Salazar is not happy about this. Being the black guy in the horror movie, that's a terrible idea. Sarah and Salazar, I hope I said his name right. I keep saying it wrong, I'm pretty sure. I know I'm going to be corrected on this. I am so sorry if I'm saying his name wrong. Anyways, they come up onto a door, and thankfully I don't have to say his name any longer. Zombies bust in, and they eat him. Oh yeah, he fired a bunch of bullets in there too. Like, they just randomly fired. I feel like they should conserve ammo, but it doesn't matter, as we're near the end of the movie. Sarah points out that they're in a room full of missile propulsion systems, and that's where they come up with the idea to burn all the zombies out. They build a little device, and Sarah goes out to confront the horde. When she does, she's quickly grabbed by the doctor zombie, but thankfully Bub is there, and he shoots the doctor zombie. This leads to the entire horde ripping Bub apart, and then they run after Sarah, who leads them towards their doom. She slides under the thing, and they burn him out. And it's a pretty epic sequence. Yeah, it's early 2000s CGI. It's not the best in the world, but it looks cool. I think it looks cool anyways. That's my personal opinion. It's cheesy. It's cheesy, but I like it. They escape the facility. Is now Day of the Dead. And they get into the doctor's car and escape. Although we are quickly jump scared by a surviving zombie. And that was Day of the Dead 2008. It's not the worst movie in the world. It's actually quite good. I mean, I'm probably dipping into my nostalgia a little bit because this was one of the zombie movies that I really enjoyed while marathoning zombie movies 10 years ago. But honestly, it has its own charm to it. Ving Rhames really does a good job as Captain Rhodes. The cast in general does a pretty good job. The guy who plays Dr. Logan really plays an asshole well. And I gotta give him props for playing that guy. He did really good at making me hate him. Sarah Bowman was a pretty good character. She didn't do a whole lot, and there was that one part where she didn't want to go upstairs to help her brother fight the zombie that was trying to eat his girlfriend Nina. They weren't really fleshed out, but you really can't flesh them out all that much in a short movie like this. Now Salazar, he's the real hero of this movie, and I actually like the alternate ending where he survives. Yeah, I couldn't find that on YouTube at all. I actually went and bought the DVD from Second and Charles just to see if this ending existed, because IMDb said something about it, and it's real. It's real. Here it is right now.
Hey, stop the car! Go! They ain't bite me! Sarah! Y'all ain't gonna check on me or nothing, huh? Suspected the black man to die.
Oh my god, you sure you're okay?
Yeah, good. He's gonna leave me. All y'all can kiss my ass. I don't wanna hear it.
I can highly recommend this movie, unlike the next movie that we'll be looking at, Day of the Dead Bloodlines, but that's not until part 2. So if you like this video, you should like and subscribe, and stick around because part 2 should be out pretty soon. Until next time, stay alive and not zombified.